Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first Anewgo of New Home Sales webcast. My name is Anya Chrisanthon, and joining me is John Lee. John, say hi to everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
We're going to have a great time.
Yes. So I feel like we should have had some champagne or something since this is like the first episode of Anewgo of New Home Sales, and also being New Year, new beginnings. So it's a new go of things. So I feel like we should have had some champagne breakfast here.
Don't worry, I'm going to have something to drink afterwards.
We're really excited to bring this show to you. John, did you want to talk a little bit about why we wanted to do this?
Well, this has been a long time coming, and basically this is just picking up where we left off last time, Anya. Back in 2018, I did my first and only podcast with you, and that was your episode 21, and that was great foreshadowing because here we are in 2021 going into 2022.
I can't believe you were on episode 21. It was like so early on. You're right. So it was still 2018. So 2018 was when I started the New Construction Marketing Podcast, and where I'm leaving it off is in, let's see, by the time it wraps up, it's going to be in 130 some episodes. So, but not to worry, whoever followed me at the New Construction Marketing Podcast, now you can see all of the new episodes with this show. So we're making it even more fun. It's going to be us co-hosting the show together and talking about all things tech. But before we jump in it, let's tell our listeners a little bit about who we are and how do we get here?
Well, first of all, thanks for making Anewgo. When we're on your podcast, that was when I made that announcement to the world that we were starting Anewgo. And here you are now as part of our Anewgo team. And yeah, let's go back and see how it all began.
Yes. Well, for me, I started my career out of college and going into financial services. So I worked for Vanguard, the largest mutual funds company. I did a lot of traveling for them. I've been to actually 48 states in 2 years that I was traveling for them.
Wow.
So lots of traveling. And then fast forward to 2011, I had my twins, my boys, and I couldn't travel anymore. So I had to take a desk job. So I was wholesaler. I sold exchange traded funds and mutual funds to financial advisors. And every single day I would drive to work and I would feel like a piece of my soul just died slowly, the slow death of sitting in that traffic. And I was just like, you know what? It's just not me. I'm not a cubicle person. I was like, I cannot do this. So I decided to join NVR in 2013, and that's how I got my start in new home sales. I think I did pretty well. I actually was the rookie of the year with NVR, so I still have my my little trophy over here to remind me of my beginnings. For me, one of the things that made me successful in new home sales was that I was personable. I followed the process, but I also noticed that I was doing the same things over and over with the prospect, right? They would come in, I would present the information to them, they would leave, and then I would follow the same set of instructions/rules to get them to the closing. So I figured, okay, it seems like I'm writing the same email over and over again. So I used a lot of technology that I was able to incorporate into my process of sales to really make it repeatable and templated so that I could just swap the name, swap the floor plan or whatever it was, and make my life a lot easier. And so my teammates were noticing that I was doing something differently. And so they all were asking me to teach them what was I doing. And then, of course, at the same time, I was listening to a lot of podcasts. I was really into marketing, trying new things. Then I eventually left Ryan Homes and went to a smaller builder where I could really, so to speak, take over the whole entire marketing process and experiment a lot. And so eventually what I did is I started my own podcast because when I was driving from model home to model home, trying to find something to listen to, I thought, hey, what a great idea it would be for me to listen to new home sales podcasts so that I could learn new techniques when it comes to new home sales and marketing. And of course, at that time, back in 2018, there was no other shows that were specific to new home sales. And even with real estate shows, it was a lot of males talking to other males, which I thought was shocking because real estate industry is so female dominated.
Right.
So I was like, well, something's not right here. So I decided, I guess I will change that. And so that's how New Construction Marketing Podcast was born. I decided, let me just start sharing what I'm doing in my own business with the rest of the people, and we can learn from each other, share best practices. And so I started attending a lot of industry events, and I think that's how we met. We probably met at either SCBC or who knows.
I met you at IBS, but I've been following you for a long time. I mean, you are an innovator and you are a game changer, and that's why I hired you.
Well, thank you. I would come to all of these events and learn from people like John. I would sit in the audience and just listen and absorb all the information so I could come back and share that on my podcast with my listeners, of course. And then eventually tables flipped and I got asked to actually be part of those events instead of sitting in the audience. Now I was standing on stage and presenting. And so I decided to make that leap away from new home sales to more concentrate on my podcast. And at the same time, a lot of home builders were coming to me, asking me for help with their marketing. Right around the same time, my daughter was born and the pandemic hit. It was like the perfect storm of things. And I decided, you know what, now or never, I'd take that leap into venturing on my own, doing marketing for home builders, consulting, and sharing all the best practices, of course, incorporating a lot of technology into that. As much as I love marketing, I think marketing is going to change. And so John and I will be talking a lot about how marketing is going to change specifically for new home sales. This was really a great fit for me to join John. We can't wait to share with you some of the really exciting things that are coming in the future with Anewgo. So John, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Well, wow, you have such a resume, but actually we have a lot of things in common, Anya. I mean, I actually got an MBA in finance. And so we have that financial background, but like you, that was kind of boring, kind of stodgy. I've always had a love for real estate. And actually, my father was a real estate agent, kind of grew up in the industry a little bit. And actually, after I got my undergraduate business degree, the first thing I did, even though I had a job, was to go out and get a North Carolina real estate license. But I always knew that I would be back in the real estate industry, whether it was a business or just in transacting my own home. But I went down the traditional route. I started out in actually Steeltown in Pittsburgh with a Fortune 100 company on PPG Industries, which they produce paint. And I actually worked in a paint company, which is ironic because our biggest client now is actually Sherwin-Williams, our arch competitor. That's another story, but we basically create a white label color design tool for Sherwin-Williams. But then in 1999, after Al Gore invented the internet, there was this boom in Silicon Valley for startups. And what they were looking for were young people that are willing to take on a startup entrepreneurial environment, but have the seasoned experience of a financial expert. And I was the finance director for our North American operations. So I was young in my 30s, took that plunge, went to Silicon Valley, was actually working in Sunnyvale, just down the street from Yahoo. My first company, the startup company, was called Futuristics. We're looking into the future. And I was the VP of finance for them, helped raise $9 million. And actually, Jerry Yang and Yahoo wanted to acquire us for $29 million back then. But my CEO didn't want to get out of it. He thought I could, make much more out of that. And we eventually changed our name to Teralytics, which is analyzing terabytes of data, similar to like what Google is doing now. But then amid all that excitement, I went to Silicon Valley. I saw the light, and not only did I see the light, I saw that they worked at the speed of light there. I mean, it was at warp speed. It was so different than a traditional factory brick and mortar operation. But then the dot-com bust happened in 2001. So with that, I kind of returned back to my roots, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I came back to Raleigh and I saw, wow, even though the high tech has has taken a fall, our area is booming with growth and primarily with new construction. And one of the things that came out of Silicon Valley was I saw how all these technologies startups were disrupting all these industries. And they said, you really should follow an industry that's huge, but also something that you're passionate about. So coming back to Raleigh, I saw it was a hotbed of home builders and technology with the Research Triangle Park here. And so I jumped into it. I wanted to get into the new construction side, but one of the first things I realized that new homes don't exist. So I always know that when you start a company or you're trying to move into an industry, is content first. Content is king. Well, these homes don't exist. So how are you going to market something that doesn't exist? Well, that's why we created Rendering House. We render houses. In 2020, we went from being a content creator to starting a software company, which we're calling Anewgo. And so what is Anewgo? Anewgo is basically don't buy new homes the old way, make a new go of it. We're going to try to use technology to help home buyers be able to find, design, experience, and buy new homes online. We're going to be a new home portal. The other aspect of what I am is a lot of people think, hey, you're just the tech guy, you're the virtual guy. Actually, I'm also a physical real estate entrepreneur. I'm actually a real estate developer. So if you see on the slide there, that building there is my 54,000 square foot mixed use development called The Block on Main in downtown Holly Springs. And we occupy the top floor, our 60 employees or so, though we have about 15 people, around the world helping us as well.
So this was really cool, actually. I remember you sharing the plan and then what the building was going to look like. And of course, leave it to John to infuse everything with like VR, AR. Yes. So I remember you would like walk on the sidewalk where there's just like cones or whatever, and you drop the whole building in there.
Exactly.
It's really fascinating to watch that. I think the biggest obstacle for home buyers is really they just can't see what that home's going to look like. They can't figure out what all those options are going to look like, what it's going to cost. So I think we're really going to be on the mission to make it a transparent process.
Yeah, it's really coming full circle. Now everybody's talking about the metaverse. Rendering House and Anewgo is basically born in the metaverse. We were born in the virtual world.
Okay, hang on. Before we start the geek talk.
Hold me back.
Okay, what is metaverse?
A metaverse is basically a virtual parallel universe of what we probably experience in the physical world. It can be everything from a gaming environment where you can interact with others like avatars virtually, but you can also transact physical assets in a virtual way using, say, blockchains, NFTs, cryptocurrency, real estate. So it's perfect for our industry in that we can help the buyer find their physical home in a virtual environment without the risk, the pain, the frustration, and basically with the wide open capabilities of whatever you can dream up. And then we will now translate that back into designs for the builders to actually construct in the real world. So we're going to go back and forth between the physical and the virtual worlds. Our kids have been doing that. The millennials have grown up. They grew up doing that, whether it's social or e-commerce. But we can talk for ages. I have a whole nother session where we can talk about metaverse, but in a very simplistic way.
Yes. Okay. So that makes sense. And you probably have heard rumblings in the industry that there were 2 major sales recently of real estate in metaverse sold for millions of dollars. So people are already buying real estate in that world, which is insane, right? You would think you're spending millions of dollars on something that you can't touch.
Yep.
But that's where we're heading. So that's a big part of why we're doing this.
Exactly.
So which brings us to why exactly are we doing webinars? So I've been sharing my content for the longest time to try to push this industry forward. And as I have developed my own skills and as I have ventured more and more into the world of technology and how can technology help us sell homes, I really believe very strongly in technology, the fact that the right sort of technology can help us do our jobs better, and it can make the whole process so much simpler. John, on the other hand, is been like, I always, whenever I describe you to people, I always say, the reason why I admire John is because he's always been 5 steps ahead of everyone else in our industry. So every single time I've had conversations with you, I always feel like I walk away with my mind just going. So I really wanted to deliver that same experience to the rest of home building industry so that we can talk about some of these complex issues, some of these interesting topics of technology, how technology is changing new home building. So do you want to
Yes, I
jump in
mean,
there?
like there's many podcasts out there and I love listening to all of them, but one of the angles that's not usually covered is the tech side. And that's one of the areas that's really booming in not just our industry, but across all the other industries. So what we want to do with our webinars is really by talking about tech and what I call it, et cetera, et cetera. So talking tech, a lot of us never even heard about fintech until like 4 or 5 years ago. And just only recently have we started talking about PropTech. Fintech is obviously for the financial side. PropTech is really emerging now for the property side and real estate. And tying that all together is for sales and marketing is an evolution of MarTech and even sales tech. MarTech, a lot of people have already started that with digital marketing and social media, but sales tech, maybe, touchscreen sales kiosk, probably robots serving you food down the road, maybe even a virtual buyer or seller's agent using AI. So there's a lot of technology that's happening all around us in the industry and within specific functions. And now for the et cetera part, there's 2 segments that I want to really approach to. For the builders, the ETC, the et cetera part is one, education. We need to educate the builders on the new terms, the concepts, and the emerging technologies that's inundating us today. Once you now understand the technology and you want to implement it, we want to provide the T, the training. And these are the training for the new systems and processes and techniques. Everything that you've been doing in the past, you're going to have to start anew go, hopefully. And then the final thing is, how can you utilize this to change the way you market and sell to your consumers? How can you make it a better customer experience? And that's where we provide consulting, maybe identify some best practices, some case studies, and maybe even get to the business side of tactics and strategies. We'll maybe even bring in some guests to share some of their stories of how they implemented some of these new technologies. Mm-hmm. Now for the consumer side, the consumers, they already understand the technology. I don't really have to educate them. They're just waiting to utilize technology. And for them, what we want to create for them, the ETC is what they want. They want something that's easy. They want an easy tool. They want transparency in the information. They want transparency of pricing. They want to see what they're going to get, and they want to get what they see. And they also want control, not control necessarily over the builders, but they want to control over their shopping experience. I want to shop when I want, how I want, where I want, with who I want. And the builders need to provide the technology to fulfill these 3 major needs for consumers to provide that wonderful, great customer experience.
So true. So I always think about how car industry, they have adopted some of the same tech that's coming to us now. But when you think about the sales process, how far more advanced car industry is in providing transparent information. Like when you're going to buy a car, what all the options cost, right? You're pricing everything out real time. There's no, you need to sign an agreement of sale first to buy the shell of the car. And then only after you sign that agreement, we're going to actually tell you what it's going to cost to add that radio, GPS, and everything else. I mean, it's just ridiculous, but that is the way we're still treating our customers when we withhold that information about pricing. And pricing has always been such a hot point with me because I feel like I've been talking about this for such a long time, because I can only imagine what it must feel like for a consumer. And I mean, I do imagine because I sold homes to consumer where they couldn't even see that price, right? And I know a lot of home builders still justify the reason why they're not willing to share that. And I think big part of it is they don't have the technology to make it easy to share with the consumer. But second part of it, they're still holding on to that motion that consumers are just going to be scared off by the price and they're not going to come into the model home to see them, where essentially that's absolutely not true. Think about yourself as a consumer. If you are pricing out a car, one, knowing what the price is and you self-qualify, you can see that calculator breaking it down for you, what the monthly payment's going to look like. So you can say, oh, you know what, that's in my budget. I'm actually going to go see this guy, versus the other guy who saying, oh, here's the beautiful car, but you have no idea if it's costing $25,000 or $100,000. And John, you just shared with me before we started recording that you just bought a new car. Now, did you know what the price was before you signed the paper?
Oh, I just bought whatever they had on the lot. No, of course I had to look at the price. I mean, you have to, as builders, you have to remember your biggest competitors are existing homes. And when they can see that home and they can tour it and they can also price it, you have a hard uphill battle to convince them to come see you and work with you amid all the other obstacles that they have to deal with buying new. This industry has transformed a lot in the 20 years that I've been here. Well, what I really want to do for this industry, I really want to take us from being a tech laggard to amazingly a tech leader. You know, when I first came in here, we were just doing print, and some of those print things are still being used by many builders. And I don't know, they're still living in the past, but digital is the future. There's been more changes on the digital side in the last 5 years and probably in the previous 15. A lot of people thought, hey, I went from a brochure to a website. Okay, I'm set, I'm done. I just want you to know that the website is just at that switchover point. It's gone well beyond websites and CRMs. It's going to, like what you're saying, ultimately like the metaverse, but along the way, there's gonna be e-commerce, sales kiosks, web apps, social, the native apps, and AR, VR, and there's so many different technologies that are all coming together in the cloud and mobile. If you don't start now, it's going to be too late. Your customers are already there. Mm-hmm. If you're still using legacy systems, it's going to take a while for you to do that U-turn. If you don't start turning the ship now, you're going to sink like the Titanic later.
I've realized firsthand just how much money is coming into our space. And one of the topics we're going to cover is the disruption that's coming our way. A lot of companies approached me about working with them or partnering with them to help them promote their products or an app or whatever that may be. And it was incredible to me. Almost every single day, I would get contacted by somebody reaching out to me saying they want to partner with me and this is the product, and they just got, $40 million cash influx that's coming in, and this is what they're trying to do in new home building. So it's incredible how much money is just pouring into this industry. I always tell my builders that when you look at how technology is going to change and how technology is going to change the way customers shop. Remember, when customers are shopping, they're not just shopping for new homes, they're shopping for new cars, they're shopping for clothing, they're shopping for all those different things. So the experience that they're comparing of shopping is not just new home sales to new home sales, not just one builder to the other builder. They're comparing it to everything else that they're experiencing. And a lot of what's going to be coming to new home building, the customers are already experiencing it with other manufacturers, with other products. So, it's important to understand just what's happening. And I think a lot of what we're going to be spending our time talking about is a lot of this new technology, right? So that you will know, is this something I should be paying attention to, or is this not important? And as John and I are going to be going back and forth and talking about some of this stuff, hopefully you can make sense of it. And that's our goal for you.
Yes, and this is our introductory podcast, and hopefully it gets better from here. We're going to try doing this weekly so that we keep things fresh because the technology is ever changing. But every quarter, what we like to do is what I'm calling our TBD tech reviews. And the reason it's called TBD is because it's to be determined. I do tech, but I'm not a prognosticator. I don't see into the future. But that TBD also represents trends, begins, and depends. We're going to cover 3 topics of technology. Trends, basically trying to showcase what innovative sales and marketing technologies are starting to grow in popularity. We want you to be not just a trend participator, but we want you to be a trend maker. the second thing is the B stands for begins. There's a lot of emerging disruptive technologies and innovations in businesses. We want to explore some of those so we can see it early on so that you have a chance to adjust before you buy into some expensive system that may be going out of style. Final thing is the depends. This is the part where it's kind of up in the air. There's a lot of stuff coming out, like is Metaverse going to be popular or not? So part of this is a good discussion of evaluating new and current technologies that may have some uncertain adoption and lifespans. And at the same time, maybe talk about some existing technologies that may have gone past its useful life. A lot of people keep talking up the past when they should be talking about the future. And we want to say this in an objective way, not just relative to the stuff that we're doing, but the things that are happening in our industry and other industries and what are popular trends among consumers.
Yeah, so important to I always say, hey, keep an eye on what other industries are doing, how they're treating consumers, how consumers are shopping, so that we can provide similar type of experience in our own industry.
What I'm telling the industry and the builders, you need to change with the times. And we've had to change with the times. As you know, we switched from Rendering House to Anewgo. And basically, why did we start Rendering House again? We started because content is first. We had to conquer the content piece. I'll just go back a little bit in the past of how change has really affected us. We used to have a company called Venture Prints, because back then when you created that content, you had to print it on a medium. So I bought a compact color laser printer for $7,000. And I used to joke to my partners, it was like printing money, because every plan had about 2,000 prints they did. It cost us $1 per page, and we sold for $2 each. So every time a page came off, ding, ding, $1. Well, that was a great moneymaker until digital came along. And yeah, I could just held on to that compact printer forever, and I would just eventually lost money. But we had to adjust to the digital age. And this is what I'm encouraging now. We're at digital 2.0. Some of you don't realize that, but digital 1.0 is fading away. And I'll explain more about that in another session here. But back in the day, we used to sit there and walk the streets with a photo album of our renderings, and it said no littering, no loitering, no solicitation, but we still had to go walk around, and we had to walk around 100-degree heat and 90% humidity trying to pawn our products. But then we were actually rescued by Google. When I was in Silicon Valley, we had a competitor called Google at the time. I knew it was going to be a competitor.
Never heard of them.
Yes, they actually end up being bigger than us. But what happened was we learned from Google was there are actually people searching for your product, as opposed to you trying to push your product on other people, which builders still do a lot of that stuff. What we want to do is allow the buyers to find you. And this is a true story. I told my partners, hey, on this Google search thing, there are people actually looking for our services. And what they would do is they'd type in a keyword. And when they click on a keyword, we would pay them 10 cents. It was only 10 cents for a keyword back then. And they thought, well, gosh, we're going to lose a lot of money, because what if 1 million people click on it? We'll lose $1 million. I said, no, you can put a daily limit on. So you put a $3 budget on that first day. I think like the 7th click, we got an order from Actis Lend-Lease, which is building Camp Lejeune military housing. They gave us a $70,000 order off of a 10.
Well, that's a good investment.
That kickstarted our business, and it shifted us all from those dollar pages to tens of thousands of dollars using new technology and Google searches. Part of the evolution for Rendering House to Anewgo is a lot of people think we're just really a content company. Yes, we start off with content, but as we became Anewgo, we moved from a content company to a software platform, a software company, basically made a new go of it. But ultimately where we're going, and this is where Anya jumps in here with her wonderful social media presence as well, is to become a media company like all the other major software companies like Facebook or Google. They become a media company because that content is an important aspect of their distribution. So with content, it's really the product. Software is the platform, and the media company is the ecosystem, which is the omni-channel. And a very simple way to remember our business model, I'm telling everyone right now on the first day, it's almost like the home shopping network. The product is the home, the platform is for shopping, e-commerce, and the ecosystem is our network. Basically, that whole ecosystem together will enable buyers to find, design, experience, and buy new homes online, anywhere, anytime, and anyhow. And it will be introduced at a portal level um, in the spring of 2022 with
That's
our
going to be
Anewgo marketplace.
super exciting. I can't wait for that. So, and I think the best way to describe the portal is really when you think about going to Amazon to find products, it would be similar idea, right? So we're essentially going to be Amazon for new home sales. So right now, with most of the portals out there, when you go in, you find a particular design you like, you click on it, and it takes you directly to the builder's website. So every time you encounter new builder, you go directly to their website. There's no way to communicate with that builder on the portal. So instead, what we're going to do is it's going to be just like an Amazon store where you can select multiple plans, you can favor multiple plans, all staying within the portal, so that for a consumer, it's a much better experience as opposed to going to so many different portals. And then also think about it like, if you are a consumer and say, I'm moving to Raleigh, right? For me to start my shopping experience for a new home, I would have to essentially Google, try to find all of the builders in Raleigh, right? That's going to be the traditional way of finding somebody. Hopefully you're actually showing up on Google, then I may be engaging with you. But if you're one of those smaller builders who's not able to compete on Google keywords and you're showing up on page 10 of Google, sorry, you're out of luck. So what we're going to do with this portal is instead, the plans are going to be rendered real time so that the AI is going to determine that, okay, Anya really likes the one floor living. She likes that rustic look. So we're only going to show her plans that are matching that description, no matter how small the builder is. As long as their rendering showing up in the portal, they're going to be able to be matched to that particular floor plan instead of going individually to every single builder. I think that's going to be the biggest difference for a consumer, is just the ease of doing business, because once they find a plan, they'll be able to actually buy the home right online through the portal. And if they wanted to go see the builder, they could go see the builder and they can pick up that transaction right where they left off. Imagine as a salesperson, you're sitting in a model home, the person comes in, you can pull up their information, see exactly what they did. You can see the house that they built, all the options in it, and maybe you're just holding their hand through the actual purchase agreement process, or they can do it online by themselves. I think that's really going to be the beauty of it.
You basically hit the ETCs I was talking about. You're going to give them easy, transparency, and control. When we give that to them, they're going to love that customer experience. And basically, just from our own name, a go and a new go, there are things that we can learn from sales and marketing. Some of these best practices that Anya, grew up with and taught others for. So there is a history to this, but we also want to learn some of the new techniques. I mean, we have a lot of new people coming into our industry and new hires. They're probably wondering, why are we doing this kind of stuff? I've never seen any of this stuff. So part of this webcast is to explain how we got here so you can understand why we're doing this. But then also for the people that have been here for 10, 20 years, it also gives you some new blood and ideas of, how your consumers are shopping and how you can adjust to that. There is a way out, and the way out is not to leave. The way out is to adopt some new technology that we're going to handhold you through.
And I think for the builders, that's really exciting, because as a builder, you'll be able to participate in this portal. You'll be able to display all of your plans. And again, AI essentially is going to match your perfect floor plan with that consumer. And the AI is going to be able to show that floor plan in a specific color that the consumer already prefers. So essentially, it makes the sales process a lot easier. So for salespeople, I think your role is also going to evolve in this process, where you're really going to become that concierge, especially post signing of agreement of sale. I think this is where we drop the ball oftentimes, is an industry we're rushing to get people to sign on a dotted line. And then once they do, we're nowhere to be found because we're out chasing the next customer. But imagine if instead of chasing the next customer, we have the technology that finds that perfect customer for our perfect floor plan for them. So it's a great match to begin with, which again, makes a lot less work for us. And now you can concentrate on that customer experience. And I think that's
exactly. I mean, one of the biggest things that we're going to change is switching it from a buyer having to arduously search day in, day out, never knowing if their house is the next house they click on, or they're never going to find one, to something that's going to be more of a match and notify, similar to what you have with Match.com or even Uber. That is the experience that they're expecting. And then we're still going to have the human touch, but the salesperson, the OSCs, are going to be much more informed, equipped, and they're going to have the right products for the right people. And it's going to resonate. It's going to make the sell a lot easier. Mm-hmm. So where do we go from here? For us, we want to build out our ecosystem, which, everything is in the cloud now. And so that's really tying in all of our content and data in our channels, everything from your sales center kiosks to your website channels, to your social media, to your marketplace portal. All the data is all in sync. You start wherever you left off in the sales process, whichever way you came in. On our backend insights, you can see all that activity across all your channels and across all your customers and all your products.
And AKA, sorry, to translation. So imagine if you started watching Netflix on your living room TV and you're like, you know what, let me pause this because I'm going to go upstairs, fold some laundry now. And you can finish watching where you left off on your iPad as you're folding laundry. Same thing for the customer experience. They'll be able to pick up where they left off at every stage of the way, because all of the systems are going to be tied together so that the customer knows where they are in the process, and you as the builder know exactly where that customer is in a process.
Yes, but one thing I want to say is that we can't do this alone, and so the next important step is to integrate and partner with other systems. We need pricing from the ERPs. We need help with the CRM so you can follow that relationship with each individual customer. Well, there's a variety of financial systems, from credit cards to automatic clearinghouse transfers, that we need to connect with, and as well as DocuSign and other digital signature. So we need to integrate and partner with other platforms, other consultants, and other processes to make this work. And then the final thing is, all together here really takes a village, is to grow this at a scale that we can compete against the larger portals and networks out there, to really gain efficiencies and also create this massive database so we can better service our customers and even help us in how we want to design and build our homes with the right products and options.
We really want to showcase all the wonderful things that you're doing. Our goal at Anewgo is really to become the advocate for our consumers, to show them why buying a new home is the right choice for them. So we're going to be looking for all of the really cool things that you're doing, and we're going to be featuring you on all of our channels to create that content, to entice, right, the bingeable content for our consumers. So we'll definitely need your help with that.
Yeah, you have to think of Anya as your liaison to the consumer. She wants to take what is hard for the consumers to understand, which is not technology, but it's about real estate, construction, all the architectural jargon. Put that into a language that they can understand, using social media, using social influencing, using videos and YouTube, all the means that people use to learn and digest information so they can learn when, where, why, and then how to buy new. So it really is like the Got Milk campaign for the new homes industry. And we're going to do it in a way that resonates with today's shoppers. Well, that was our first episode. It was totally packed. We're going to have to unpack a lot of that in other sessions, but I really enjoyed working with you and talking with you, Anya.
Well, I've always loved chatting with you. Every time I talk with you, I feel like my brain gets a little bit more of that, blown mind. So my goal is going to be to make sure that you don't talk too much of a geek talk during these, right? I'll be able to say, hold on, explain it to us like we're 5 years old, because sometimes that's what it takes. And we look forward to you joining us on the next show, where we're going to talk about disruption of new home sales.
Yep, we're going to be the last unicorn to disrupt. Look forward to it.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.